r/AskReddit. What do you strongly suspect but have no proof of? That my English teacher didn't read essays, and based grades on how we were in class. I know this for a fact about my freshman English teacher. I put "Are you reading this?" in the middle of a paper. She did not mark it or ever comment on it. Once, in a science lab report I put "include later," intending to come back and finish that section last. I forgot to. When I got it back graded, the teacher had circled it and written, "How much later?" Oh, don't get me wrong, my science teacher was on that shit. We had to read scientific journals and do a 6-page report on them. Mine was unlike Grizzly's and was 40 pages long, the study, not what I word. Dude, read all 30 students' pages, and each journal. Science teachers care more about accuracy than English teachers. Insert shocked Pikachu later. Dentists ask you questions with all that stuff in your mouth because they think it's funny to watch you struggle / Wife is a dental assistant. I asked her this. She says it's to distract the patient to make them feel it didn't take as long as it really did. Edit, all you introverts, I totally understand. But dentists are medical professionals. If it makes it worse for you, no problem. Just talk to them and explain. It will be fine. I had a dentist who used to sing. Lovely man he was, great Welsh accent. It's not unusual. Followed by 7 What's New Pussycats. Me and my friends did this at a local dive bar and the bartender was a big John Mulaney fan, so he allowed each and every one of them. That only about 20% of people actually do any work. The rest just get by looking busy. I'd say 80% of people work just 20% of their work hours. I finished all my work by 8:30 this morning. At the end of each month, this is how it is. Edit, for those asking about how to get my job, trust me, you don't want it. Work environment is grueling most of the time and I have to deal with so much bullshit I could write a series of books. I'm also about to have to double my workload, in only half my time, due to the idiotic unique decisions of the company owner. We're literally taking on the work of a whole other company right after they slashed my hours with only 2 days' notice. I'm actually looking to leave this place right now. This is me every single day. I'm so over being bored, that I've actually gone to my supervisor and asked for more work, but nothing. I would look for something different, but I am moving out of state in less than a year, so I'm sucking it up. Hence why I'm on Reddit right now. I've spent most of today looking up the orbital periods of other planets and calculating how old I and some others are on each planet, and when the big milestone birthdays for Mars and stuff are gonna occur. Some fun facts I've learned today. If you're 29 years and 167 days old, you're 1 Saturnial year old. If you're 37 years and 225 days old, you're turning 20 Martian years old. Etc. I could probably find some work to do but no one would notice anyway. Asterisk shrugs. Some zoos have empty exhibits and just claim the animal is in there, you just never see them. This. I've gone to the same zoo once a year for the past 10 years and not once have I seen the wombat there. Edit, thanks for the gold. I don't know why I laughed at this. Somewhat unrelated. I was just thinking how cool a nocturnal zoo would be. Only open at night and they specialize in species that only are awake at night. That'd be sweet. Probably no business but cool nonetheless. Check out Singapore's night safari. Historians plus 200 years from now will be able to look at all of the private messages and data of people who have been long dead. Similar to how we can read private letters of people from 1700s. The issue is that digital records are by no means permanent. Sure. But I'd be amazed if Google, Apple, FB, etc. don't have extensive data on me and every other user. Messages, photos, videos, links, everyone I know who works at these places know that it's all sitting on a server somewhere. Yeah, but the means of accessing that server may be long gone. Think about how difficult it is right now to find a working 8-track cassette player, and that's only 40-ish-year-old tech. I agree that the types of databases you're talking about probably do exist, but I'm pretty skeptical that historians even 50 years down the road will have the ability to access them. That my abusive step-father went to jail, not exile, for 8 years when I was a teen, and that for a few years prior we were actually running from the law, not hiding from the government because of his activism. This suddenly dawned on me about a month ago, more than a decade later. Kinda like how it suddenly clicks that the dog didn't go to a farm. I'm 42. I realized this summer that my dad is an alcoholic. He's been stumbling around drunk for 42 goddamn years, and I realized it this year. Kids are funny about that stuff. First time I went to a party in high school I was like, hey, this stuff smells like my parents' room, oh shit. I had that same exact epiphany when I got high for the first time. I had smelled it a bajillion times, but because I smelled it at home it seemed super innocuous. Then I realized it was the devil's lettuce, and my anti-drug dad was a big fat phony. We cool about it though. Your dad wasn't anti-drug, your dad was anti-drug for you. When my children are old enough to make those decisions I no longer care. I just don't want them smoking weed during the time in which you can actually have an effect on their brain and cause cognitive damage. Cornhole is a conspiracy by the insurance industry because they feel horseshoes is too dangerous. This is the kind of low-stakes conspiracy I could get into. More like no stakes, since horseshoes is the one you actually have to shove something in the ground for. I think it's just a conspiracy to make people say cornhole. That Bath and Body Works has like 13 unique scents. Every couple of months they just rotate the scents in and call them something else. I read something similar to this by a Yankee Candle outlet employee. Most of the scents are identical, but the names get licensed, so they need to be changed from what's in the actual chain stores, and half the time in those main stores the new seasonal scent has just been renamed from last season. That my grandmother had a child before she married my grandfather. When my grandparents met and started dating, my grandma was only 13. My grandpa was 20. They married when she was 17 and he was 24, right after he came back from serving in World War II. That was about as much of the story as anyone in my family ever knew. They'd been dating, then he went overseas, and she wrote to him while he was gone. When he got back, they got married. A few years after my grandma died, my grandfather suddenly mentioned that they'd actually been broken up for a while before she started writing to him. After they'd dated about a year, he went to pick her up at her house one day, only to find she wasn't home. Her parents informed him that she'd left to live with some cousins a few hours away, and she'd be gone for about a year. He got upset that she hadn't told him about this in advance and ended the relationship. When another year-ish had passed and she returned home to her parents, she started writing him overseas and apologized, and they started dating again. My grandpa told this story very blandly and seemed to believe that the situation was what it said on the tin, but of course in the 1940s to 60s it was quite common for teenage girls to go live with relatives for a year as a code for having an out-of-wedlock pregnancy. My grandpa would never have admitted if they'd been having sex, but I'm betting they were. She got pregnant, and she was sent off somewhere to have the baby. I've done commercial DNA testing, so I'm on the lookout for someone to turn up as a sibling match to my mom someday. The only other explanation for my grandma suddenly leaving town would be if her parents didn't approve her relationship with my grandpa, but from everything I know of them they were perfectly fine with their 13-year-old daughter dating a guy in his 20s. Go live with relatives for a year. My mom's ex-mother-in-law, yeah, had a sorta similar story. We were chatting last Christmas and my girlfriend mentioned her dad had a cabin at the super remote lake, and the Emil says something about, oh, that area was wonderful, I spent a year at a ranch up there when I was younger. And then got this weird look on her face and never ever mentioned it again. I'm not blood related to them, but I know that that side of the family has had several incidents in almost every generation. The ex-brother-in-law just found out at the age of 60 that he has a 30-year-old daughter with some lady he hooked up with while camping one night. But I also know that my grandfather on that side wasn't my biological grandfather. Parents let me know in my mid-20s, long after he had passed. My biological grandfather died in WW2 and my grandmother remarried. I feel like there's a lot of stories like that where the family just quietly created a new truth for the sake of propriety. When my grandparents met and started dating, my grandma was only 13. My grandpa was 20. Woo. Totally normal back then. My kind of adopted grandparents, Horace and Mill, nickname for Mildred, were 19 and 13 when they married. Millie told me about how the day after they married, she went to her mother's house and said, "Mama, he's mean." Her mother said, "You made your bed, now sleep in it." They went on to be married for 68 years, mostly happily, after the first 4 or so, until Millie's death. Horace lived for another 8 years. Horace and Millie are 2 of the fucking oldest old person names I can imagine. That the ginger ale at this diner I go to every day is just Coke and Sprite mixed together. It is actually not unheard of for ginger ale to be swapped out for the Coke/Sprite combo. They are just counting on you not noticing. Source: used to work in the service industry. What? How could you not notice that? I feel like I'd notice every time. But maybe I've already been fooled. Reddit questions are a clever way AI could compile data on every one of us. It's taking questions like, what would you buy if you could only buy things with the first letter of your name? Children of the 80s, what is it in your state/country that it's capable of building a profile on all of us? According to our AI generated profile, you like eating ass. I didn't say it reached correct conclusions. Nice try. Cat's out of the bag. FBI. Those are just posts by people who work for BuzzFeed who are looking for material. That's why the answers in those threads end up on BuzzFeed later. That my ex-wife's boyfriend hurts my boys. They used to tell me it happened, but I never had proof. I then saw a mark one day and they said it was cause of the boyfriend and she explained it away. All of these times I'd call CPS and nothing came of it. One time my boy told CPS that when he talks bad about the boyfriend, mom hits him, but still nothing happened. After that point they stopped telling me things, which in my opinion means that they are just afraid of being hit by mom for telling me things about the boyfriend. Can you get an emergency petition for custody filed by your lawyer to the court? If you feel like your children are in danger, you can request one. Edit: for those naysaying what I suggested, I did exactly this. I'm a very similar situation. I got full custody of my child. It cost me a lot, but nearly a decade later and my child is now a teenager and doing great. This is one of those scenarios, as sketchy as it may seem, a stuffed animal nanny cam could come in handy in their room. Just in the off chance that something could be caught on camera. There's one company in a town local to me who board up windows, nobody else in the area seems to do it. Every single window, door, abandoned shop, all done by this one company. They've got a ridiculous sized HQ, and have put a decent amount of money towards fixing up other buildings in the area. So I've got a theory they're the ones doing the damage or paying people to do it, and then obviously getting the job of fixing it up as they're really well known in the area. Despite having no proof of this, I am 100% confident I am onto them. Someone was repeatedly breaking my BJJ gym's windows. My gym being heavily populated by cops and pies set up surveillance and caught the window repair guy doing it. My pa grew up in Brooklyn in the 60s and on up. For a few months every Saturday night there was a handful of car windows smashed. Guess what? Only one car window repair shop open on Sunday, dun. They staked out neighborhoods around the shop that was open. As you guessed, the genius owner was going around with a slingshot shooting our people's windows on Saturday nights to drum up business. That I have some crazy rare unknown disease, and anytime I go to the doctor they say everything's fine even though I haven't felt the same for 6 months. Visit 1, it's a viral cough. 1 month later with a cough, it's viral. Another month, still coughing, it's still viral. 4 months, a trip to A&E and a sleep study, it was obstructive sleep apnea all along. Here's a consultant whose advice will be as helpful as a wet fart in a thunderstorm. Ugh, I'm in the rabbit hole of mystery gut diseases/disorders, and while I know doctors are a bit lost, it's frustrating as heck. First visit, sounds like IBS caused by anxiety, take this medication which kinda treats both. Doesn't really get better, sounds like IBS caused by a functional issue that's hereditary, as all your family has weird digestive issues too. Ranges from intolerances to extra intestine to no idea. Try this pill before food and do a FODMAP diet. Gets more weird symptoms during flare UPS, whelp sounds like Crohn's but can't see the inflammation so can't try and treat it. Maybe you've just got arthritis at 24 that only hurts sometimes as well as IBS. Good luck, don't keep asking questions. This happened to my friend. Turned out after being diagnosed with arthritis, she finally popped a piece of gum in her mouth at the visit. Turns out she was eating so much gum that she poisoned herself on the fake sugar ingredients which mimics arthritis pain and migraines. So keep at it. Someone will hopefully figure it out. That my 5-month-old knows exactly when I'm about to fall asleep and starts crying just to fuck with me. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There is no louder, more upsetting noise to a baby than the sound of a parent's head hitting a pillow. That's why you gotta sleep on the floor twice a week to throw him off. Never let the enemy know your next move. There's a theory out there that babies who cry had an evolutionary advantage over those who didn't because the crying/exhaustion would prevent the parents from fucking and making new babies who would become competition for first baby's resources.